on in.
Hi, Dana.
Asher,
Hey,
welcome back.
nice to be here.
This one doesn't got a pick guard protector on it, but
Here.
that's that set that you picked. Holy suffering. But yeah, that's the one. That's the main event one. What are you working on here, Dana? We got a double O or OM?
Double O vintage.
Double O vintage.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Really?
The final touches. And this is the professional series?
Professional.
Yeah, so that's a Sitka top. Beautiful.
I mean, it's nice to be able to use a killer Sitka top. This last batch of Sitka sounds amazing.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we'll get out of your way.
How
here.
big's your Prius?
Yeah, I tell you, I hope we get stopped going home just so the cop can go, "You're a musician?"
All right.
One left.
One left?
One more left. Helps the cases slip again.
So here we have two dreadnoughts from you. One is vintage professional, one is vintage heirloom, both special Indian rosewood. Maybe you could elucidate a little bit on this?
Sure. I mean, ostensibly they look pretty similar, but there's a little bit different stuff going on. The Vintage Professional Series has a Sitka spruce top, beautiful, quadruple A grade, beautifully grained Sitka spruce top, ivoroid pins, and simpler appointments, slightly simpler appointments. The main difference over here with the Heirloom series is an Adirondack top, but it's also paired with the animal protein glue. A couple of different appointments. The rosette, the herringbone, and the backstrip are just a little more vintage authentic than in the professional series. One of those things where we just sort of started out building them this way, and it's kind of evolved into sort of this style as people asked for. Well, can you do a little bit more authentic, herringbone or whatever? So we put all of that stuff on this particular model. One other slight difference between the two is that the professional series features a Ziricoti headstock, and the Heirloom series features a Madagascar rosewood headstock. A little bit different. Some of the Madagascar has some figure in it. This is very traditional, in a straight, close-grained, even color.
It's a nice looking piece of Ziricote.
Yes.
Do you want to talk at all about the rosewood that
Yeah.
you're working with?
Yeah, we work with a fourth generation rosewood supplier in India. We directly import our own rosewood. These guys about once a year pick out a special log for us. We've been dealing with them for years now.
So you get the log.
Yeah, and they just kind of know what we like. It's great when you develop these, very long relationships with certain suppliers, and you get to know what they can provide, and they get to know what your preferences are. And we just like the old growth, close grained, darker colored rosewood. And the professional series would be, close to our standard basic rosewood model guitar, and yet, it's got just the best wood available on it. Indian rosewood doesn't get any better than that, and Sitka spruce doesn't get any better than that. So yeah, the Coupe is one of our newer models. It's actually it's a unique model to us. We've started off with essentially what it is. It's a double O body style converted to a 12 fret. There's a 12 fret double O, there's a 14 fret double O. The 14 fret is shorter, but we've turned that into a 12 fret with a solid headstock. It seems a little funny, but what that does is it puts the bridge down into the widest part of the lower bout, which is a really efficient place to drive a small top. And it's a short scale. It's got a solid headstock as opposed to a slotted headstock. 12 frets free of the body. So everything is very compact and easy to play. I think of it as the ultimate couch potato guitar. Being with the driving the top from that place, you get a lot of sound for a little guitar, and everything is so compact and just easy to play. It almost plays itself. Both of these guitars are built in the DB signature style. Hallmarks of the DB signature are the koa binding, the signature herringbone, a 3-color herringbone as opposed to just a black-white. It's a black-white-brown herringbone. We use a small wooden rosette. This is the signature. This is a signature deluxe. The deluxe has the binding on the headstock and the fretboard. Just a little more going on, a little bit of a headstock inlay. Both of these are custom versions. The thing that makes this one custom is the beautifully figured bear claw torified Sitka top. We've got in a nice pile of that, and there's a couple of them, a couple more, or at least one more in this collection, I believe. And this is a torified Adirondack top. The standard back and side is Indian rosewood, which this one has. This one has beautiful quarter-sawn Brazilian rosewood. I told Dan a little bit earlier this morning, when this guitar sells, someone else wants one like it, do not order, I want the same thing with a back just like this one, because it doesn't exist. This is a beautiful, unique set.
We were happy to be here to be able to pick that out, and it's beautiful.
That's right, you picked it out when you were here last winter.
These are 12 fret OMs?
Yes. It's very similar body to a 12 fret triple O body. We call it the OMS because it has a long scale. So most triple O's have a short scale. There was a very slight period, when they were made with long scales, and we just think it adds a little something. And so we've always made them that way. These two guitars really kind of illustrate what can be done sort of with the OMS body.
They're very different.
They're very different. One of them is our plainest, absolute simplest version of the OMF. It's a Country Boy Professional Series. It's Sitka spruce top, mahogany back and side, slotted headstock, no cutaway, and it's a beauty. It's a dream guitar.
This is one of your favorites of the batch we're picking up right now?
It is one of my favorites. In fact, the 12 fret OM body style is one of my favorite of all of the body styles in all the world. I mean, I don't know, there's something about it. Its size, the ratio of the air cavity to the scale length to the
still long scale
to the top surface area. There's something magical about it. They all seem to have like this unique quality about them. I can pick them up and play them for hours. But sort of going back to the differences here, this is the OMS Country Boy standard, and this is what we call the Fingerstyle Deluxe. A few differences. Obviously, the cutaway is the most obvious difference. It's the top is Italian spruce. The back and sides are cocobolo, which I can show, and it's dressed up quite a bit with curly koa binding, body, fretboard, and headstock.
It's a looker.
It is, and it also has a solid headstock. It's a little bit different tonally than the slotted headstock. I mean, Norman Blake once said that he thinks it's the angle puts a little bit. It's not string tension. It changes the stiffness of the playability. It changes the tension factor just a little bit. Imagine like what a tension tailpiece does to a banjo down here, putting a little more drive into the string. Whereas this is going to have a little bit lighter feel. You know, like a fingerstyle specialist would appreciate that. A little bit lighter string feel.
You feel a difference.
They're both 1 3/4 nuts. Probably the other important part is I believe this one has the the animal protein
Animal glue.
glue. So
So
nice.
it's a great platform, and it's a great platform for doing some custom type things with it.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of fancy but not flashy stuff on it. This one's totally stripped down, also a killer sounding guitar. I'd love to see this one like fly off the shelf.
Well,
Because we could make a lot of these.
well, we're trying to represent the breadth of your line, and maybe you could tell us a little bit something about this series right here.
Okay, well, there's actually a couple different series represented here, but kind of the way these are laid out, it really illustrates several different things. The first that comes to mind is the different body styles. We have, from left to right, we have an O, we have a double O, an OM. They get progressively larger. The O and double O have short scale, and then we have the OM, and over here we have the jumbo OM, thin line, JOMT. OM, JOMT have a long scale. We have a couple different, I mean, they're all fairly simply appointed. These three on the end here are from our professional series, kind of like the simplest. One is a country boy, and one is these two are vintages. They're simple in simple appointments, Sitka spruce tops, beautiful quadruple A grade Sitka spruce tops, which happen to be, I don't want to say abundantly available, but they're available right now, which is a good thing. And the difference between the professional series and this guitar over here, which is we call the Heirloom series, is you jump up to an Adirondack top, an AT Adirondack top, which or AT is age tone or torrefied Adirondack top, and the animal protein glue, and sometimes a few other little appointments, depending on the styles. Interestingly enough, so these two guitars here, the double O and the OM, are the same, basically the same general appointments, but two different body sizes, body styles. So quite a few different things here are illustrated in this group of guitars. You know, Dan, you did say you wanted to order a batch of guitars that as faithfully as possible represented our line. This group right here really shows quite a bit of diversity.
So here we have a beautiful row of some of your OMs, and you have a long history and relationship with OMs. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about these three.
Okay, start off with the history part. Back in 1986, I was a co-founder of Schoenberg Guitars with Eric Schoenberg, and Eric was always a fanatic for the vintage pre-war Martin OM, which was essentially a long scale triple O, you know, made for 4 years in the early 30s, and then it converted over to short scale, became, you know, iconic as the triple O, but there's a little something extra that the OM has. Back before the 80s, a few people were making OMs, and a Martin had just opened a custom shop, and they would make the OM as a custom shop item. Eric tried to get them to, in the meanwhile, Eric had long lusted for an OM with a cutaway. And so I built a couple of them at his request. We came up with the, originally he wanted a Selmer style, McAferry style cutaway, but I didn't know how to make that tight a bend. So that's about how they came out.
That's as close as you could get.
Martin came through the Music Emporium. At the time, he was a co-owner of the Music Emporium. And, you know, with a road show, Chris Martin was there. And he showed Chris the OM that I had made. And he said, would the custom shop make this for me? Chris said, I don't think we'd do that, at least not under our name. Light bulb goes off in Eric's head. So so later on, he asked, well, how big an order would we have to give to make to make something special? Long story short, we started Schoenberg guitars, and our single product that we started off with was a cutaway OM. So it was not only was it the first cutaway of this style on any guitar, it was the first sort of production, non-custom OM that had been reproduced since the 1930s.
Yeah, it was very exciting when that came out. I bought one. We sold a couple in our area too, with Eric, and they're still just beautiful guitars.
Thank you. The most gratifying thing is to kind of see what's happened with the OM model, the popularity.
Everywhere.
I mean, I feel like, I'm pretty sure, the OM is our biggest selling body style.
Ours too, so
and
thanks
and
to
it's
you.
probably the second most popular body style after the Dreadnought now. Whereas, back in the mid 80s, it was just like this little backwater, asterisk in Mike Longworth's History of Martin book.
Long gone.
That everyone had a copy of back in those days.
Well,
So
it's great you were able to reconstruct the DNA and improve on it as well.
and I owe a lot to Eric, who spent a lot of time, really getting to know the guitar as a player. I restored quite a few of them that he owned.
I remember going to his house, and he showed me a bunch of the old ones along with the new things, and
Yep.
he had some beauties.
Yep, he was very passionate about the OM. We have three different ones here. This is an OM vintage from our professional series, and it features a Sitka spruce top, Indian rosewood back and sides, some slightly non-traditional appointments, ivory pins. Moving over here, we have the vintage Heirloom series OM. And the major difference is, although they both have Indian rosewood back and sides, this one has an age tone or torrefied Adirondack spruce top. It has the animal protein glue, bone pins, and appointments. The rosette, herringbone, and backstrip are more vintage authentic, a little more vintage authentic. They both have the nickel Waverly tuners, bean button tuners. The Heirloom has a Madagascar rosewood headstock veneer versus the professional series has a Zeracody headstock veneer. This particular one looks almost like a Brazilian rosewood veneer, doesn't it?
With that little black stripe.
Yeah, we go for that whenever we can get it. Over here is a custom OMC. Not quite. We do a soloist. We do our own version of a recreated soloist. This is a little bit different. It does have Madagascar back and sides, a little bit different binding and purfling. The soloist would have a different bridge on it, but this one has an Italian spruce top and a beautiful Madagascar rosewood back and side.
Wow.
Definitely
It's gorgeous.
a step up, really the closest thing to Brazilian rosewood in terms of appearance and tone, and it's a little bit endangered for sure, but it's available. It's a little bit lower listing of classification in terms of being endangered, and it doesn't require, it no longer requires, you know, specialized paperwork to import,
deal with
export,
it.
carry in and out of the country, etc.
Yeah, and all of the Matty guitars we've gotten from you just sound fantastic, and they do hold themselves up very well against Brazilian models when we do shootouts and A and Bs. Really good
It's
sound
hard to
guitar.
get the really good Brazilian these days, and you can still get the really good Madagascar rosewood, so
Tone is king.
it's
so.
a real bargain.
Oh man, this thing's got so much space.
Oh, seems like lots of room.
There's so much room.